Parents get very uncomfortable talking about sex to their children. In studies, it shows that adolescents learn little to basic knowledge about sex education because they're not being taught enough about the subject. Although I believe that even though it is an uncomfortable talk, we as a society should make it a mandatory class in schools. I'm credible for giving this speech because I am very passionate about this topic. I've spent more than 50 hours researching, talking to teachers and professors, and watching videos about sex education. I want you as my audience to understand that why it is such a big deal that we have sex education in high schools or in middle schools, or schools in general. In my speech today, I'm going to be talking about why it is important to be taught about sex education, the pros of sex education, and how we can improve sex education classes. Firstly, why is it important to be taught sex education? An adolescent is going from child to adult, so they're learning a whole new wave of things about puberty and adulthood and all that. We should add sex education classes because their physical, mental health, education, and future all depend on themselves. We should guide them into better, healthier, safer ways of sex education. Their physical health, for example, can be very drastically affected by diseases such as HIV, gonorrhea, AIDS, and syphilis. That is just a small handful of diseases. Most likely, AIDS, for example, is going to last them their entire life. Yes, they can take medication, and medication will help. However, it only makes it temporary. Their mental health can also be affected due to the pressure of sex. Adolescents are more likely to engage in sexual activities if they feel the need to pleasure someone or make sure that that person likes them more. Something along those lines. Furthermore, their education can help unplanned pregnancies and affect a bunch of different things after whatever. They can get a diploma, a high school diploma. They can travel. They can do whatever they need after college or after school. Go to college, for example. Their future can also be affected due to what happens after sex. Most teens feel like depressed depending on how it went. It didn't live up to their expectations or something like that. They can feel unloved by people. And I just think that it is very important to talk about. It is also very important to talk about the pros of sex education and why we should have that. Textbooks, for example, are very, very important. It would give the adolescents the knowledge and everything that they need to know. It can go into detail about unplanned pregnancies and teen pregnancy and how we can prevent a large amount of it. And I'm not saying that teen pregnancy is bad. I just think that we can prevent a large amount of it if we have better sex education classes. It can also explain the use of the word no and communication with partners. Adolescents need to learn the word no. Yes, in some situations, like different situations, but for sex education, they need to learn the word no. Everyone needs to know that we do not allow that sort of thing. No is a word that they can use. With communicating with our partners, they need to be with someone that they trust, someone that they feel very comfortable with, doing sexual activities with. We also need to learn how to improve sex education classes. This is very important because in my high school, we had a health class, and health class and sex education class were a mixed class. Now, we should not have this in the future because I remember learning little to absolutely nothing. I learned about abstinence is key and like a tiny amount of sexual diseases. Yes, abstinence is key. It's a good thing to preach, yes. However, when you tell a teenager something like abstinence is key, what are they going to do? Probably the exact opposite of that. And although you can't really stop them from making that choice, you can guide them into better, safer ones, and we can just make it a mandatory class to absolutely learn. It should not be mixed with a health class. Although health and sex education have similarities, it needs to be a class all by itself. And in conclusion, we as a society need to make it a mandatory class. I don't understand why it has not been made its own mandatory class. I believe back in the 60s and 70s, maybe 80s, they had a sex education class and they took it away and mixed it with that health class. However, we need to bring it back. I believe that we need to help these adolescents, these teens, guide them into safer and better choices. We can't stop them, so I believe that we can help them into making them safer ones.